Thank you.
Okay, it was nice. Good night.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm really short, sorry. This question is actually coming from myself and my 14-year-old nephew, Kylie, who could not be here.
It's important that we know who the question is coming from. What is your nephew's name?
Kylie Kellerman.
Okay, continue.
Okay. He has a question, and it started to, go in my mind. What is the Spider-Man comic book that stands out the most in your mind out of all the comic books that you have made, and why?
Well, I heard that whole thing. I see that people are females, they have a higher pitch.
So what you're saying is that you can hear the females, but not the males. It's interesting tonight.
That's a superpower.
That's right. You didn't think this was turning into a medical conclave. Anyway. I don't have one story that stands out in my mind, but it's funny, there's one cover that does. And my favorite Spider-Man cover is when he decided to stop being Spider-Man. And I think we called it, the name of it was Spider-Man No More. And it shows him in his civilian clothes walking away from the reader in an alley, and there's a garbage pail, a trash can, and his Spider-Man costume is draped over the trash can. And I asked John Romita to draw something like that. And I think what he drew is a masterpiece. And strangely, every time I think of Spider-Man, that's the cover I think of. So maybe that, I don't even remember the story that well, but maybe that's my favorite story because of the cover.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What you need is drink and shut up a while and let you do it.
I would never say that out loud.
This is the nicest guy. You know, he is so tolerant. I wouldn't stand anybody being like that if I was up here. I gotta tell you. Here's your problem.
You have to share.
You're tolerant.
Who inspired you to come up with the Hulk, and how did you come up with them?
Who inspired you to come up with the Hulk? What was your inspiration for the Hulk?
You know, I really am not a guy who gets inspirations. Some people imagine sometimes writers walk in the street and suddenly, I've got an inspiration. You never get inspirations. Somebody says, we need a new story, so I go home and I sit and I scratch my head and I try to think of one. With the Hulk, we had already done Spider-Man, and I think we had done X-Men. I think the Hulk might have been third, I'm not sure. But we needed something else. And I said what everybody says, what can I do that's different? We already had a guy who could burst into flame and fly. We had a guy who was probably stretched. We had the strongest guy around, you know, the usual. And I figured, I got to get something different. So I remembered I had always liked the Frankenstein movie with Boris Karloff. I always thought that the monster was really the good guy. He didn't want to hurt anybody, but those idiots with torches were always chasing him up and down the hills. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a monster who's a good guy? But then I figured, well, you can't just have a monster running around all the time. So then I remembered I had always loved Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I thought, what if the monster turns into a regular human being and back and forth? And the monster hates his other self, and the normal human being hates the monster and would like to cure himself of turning into the monster. So it was an inspiration. It was just scratching my head and thinking and kind of working it out. And that's how it happened. And I can't think of a funny punchline.
Favorite time, silly. I'm wondering what the backstory was of how you decided to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger for your upcoming comic series, The Governor.
Yes.
Well, let me get back to the Hulk for 1 minute. No, I'll get to Schwarzenegger in a minute. But I just thought of something. Even the name the Hulk. I remember there had been a comic book years ago, published by another company that featured somebody called the Heap. I don't remember who or what it was. He looked like the Swamp Thing, but they called him the Heap, and I always thought that's a great name. So I thought the Hulk sounded like the Heap, and there it was, and that's why I called him the Hulk. Now about Schwarzenegger. Somebody came to me and said that Arnold is kind of a fan, and now that he's not governor anymore, why don't we do an animated cartoon, and I know Arnold, and I'll introduce you, and you talk, and somehow it all came about. We were going to do a cartoon series called The Governor, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was very interested. He got excited. We went up to his office, and we had meetings, and we did sketches, and we produced a book with all the pictures and story ideas. It was going to be good. Then this happened. And unfortunately, we're not going to do the cartoon anymore. However, we got the cartoonist, we got the animation studio, we have everybody who is ready to go. So instead of letting them go to waste, we'll try to think of something else. So instead of the Governor, the next time I come here and I'm on a panel, I'll tell you about the new cartoon show we have. But unfortunately, it won't be right.
Would you really give us a hint of who the villain will be in the Avengers movie?
I'm sorry, say one more time?
Would you be willing to give us a hint of who the central villain in the upcoming Avengers movie would be?
I actually would have to hold him down to make sure he couldn't answer that one.
Okay.
Who's the villain in the Avengers movie?
I don't know. No, I would probably tell you because I can't keep a secret. I really don't.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
I got to also mention, he was the nicest guy. He was very pleasant to talk to, intelligent as hell. I think he can speak perfect English, but he kept that accent because it gave him a distinction, you know. But I was very, very surprised and really disappointed because I thought he was a hell of a good guy. Enough about Arnold. Okay, now we get on to other things.
So in your original Spider-Man comics, you always made sure that you didn't just show the superhero side, you wanted to make sure you showed like their problems in their real life outside of being a superhero. Did you ever have trouble like not having too much action but not having too much of his real life so that it stayed like a perfect medium?
All I could make out was, did you ever have?
That's all.
How do you balance the action side of the superhero comics with the human problems that they go through?
Well, it's just writing stories that every writer does. You can't, when you do a superhero story or any kind of an action story, you can't just have one action scene after another. There has to be something about the characters' personal lives and how they get into this and how they'll get out of this and what are their problems and hopes and aspirations and frustrations. You need all of that. So it's not just me, that's what everybody does when they write a story. They figure, okay, here's the problem. If it's a superhero story, here's the villain. If it's just a normal story, here's the problem. And the hero or heroine is faced with it. How are they going to solve it? How are they going to get out of it? And what personal elements in their lives will make the story interesting, besides the fact that they're just trying to solve the problem. Did I say that confusingly? No. Did I say it beautifully? I articulated it well. I was sincere and it was heartfelt.
Thank you.
Hello, Stan Lee. So many of your characters use technology. Some of them use it a lot. Do you consider yourself technologically advanced?
I am the dumbest guy, technically, you'll ever know. I mean, how did the Fantastic Four become the Fantastic Four? They were slapped with cosmic rays. How did the Hulk become the Hulk? He was hit with a gamma ray. I wouldn't know a gamma ray if it hit me in the... I don't even know what those rays are. I read the names somewhere. Spider-Man, a radioactive spider. That's the extent of my scientific knowledge. Wait, I'll tell you one thing, though. Oh, wait a minute. I'll show you how much more scientific Marvel is than I am than DC. I'll give you a concrete example. We have two characters that fly. There are two characters that fly. Superman, Thor, right? Superman flies with no visible means of propulsion. He just assumes this pose and he's in the air flying. Marvel and I, ultimately scientific, I gave Thor a hammer with a leather thong attached to his wrist. He swings that hammer so fast it's like a propeller. Then he lets it go. And naturally the hammer goes flying off into space. But the thong is attached to his wrist. So it pulls Thor along. So am I a technical wizard or am I not? Eat your heart out, DC.
That's pure genius. Thank you very much.
Thank you for recognizing the genius.
I was just wondering, which was your favorite cameo in a movie?
I think I have two favorites. You know, I'm drinking this out of nervousness. I don't even like coffee. My favorite cameo had been, well, I think I like them all, the one where I'm talking to Spider-Man and I say, yes, one man can make a difference, enough said. I might add the director added the enough said, which I thought was very nice of him. And I love the cameo in Thor, because everybody thinks it's so funny. You didn't know I could drive a truck that good.
Get her done.
Oh, get her done. Get her done.
Get her done. Now I don't understand him.
Get her done.
Get her done.
Get her done.
Oh, man. Chuck! This is a strange audience.